What's up, 208? Week 7's over, and I thought 7 was supposed to be lucky number. But after what I saw in the NFL this week, I'm not so sure. But we have a ton to talk about it. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Let's get right into it right now so we can help you with your fantasy team, because it's probably a mess is what I'm guessing. What's up, fellas?
Oh, gentlemen, how are you?
Been busy, man. Like wrestling's starting to kick up. Football's coming to an end. High school wise, just busy. But like fantasy football is it for me though. So gotta make time.
Gotta make time, baby.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that long ago we were talking about, man, we're into football. Let's go. It's preseason. Let's go. And here we are 2 months in, just like that.
Sure.
Unbelievable. Well, it's good to see you guys. I hope farming's going good. Chance, I haven't talked to you in a little bit, so I hope everything's rolling good.
I'll tell you this real quick. We got all of our beans in before it rained last week, and I had an absolute bumper crop of beans. It was awesome. Just
Fantastic.
crushed it. Just the kind of crop you dream of as a farmer, So I know that I won't have it for the next 5 years, But I hit this year. That's all that matters.
Fantastic. Well, hey, we got a lot to talk about. Let's get right into the news. There's plenty.
What's going on?
I don't even know where to start after this week because there's so much news going around, so many things going around with injuries. But Chance, I'm going to let you kick us off. Where are we going here?
So I think really easy to start with last night's game because it's most fresh, right? So the Bucs lost Mike Evans to a hamstring injury, right? He came up lame at the end of a game. The reporting from the Bucs team is they won't have him active until week 11 after their bye. So it sounds like he's going to be out at least till then. And then on top of that, Godwin, if you saw it, it was gruesome. Like 40 seconds left in the game when Godwin got hurt, but he dislocated his ankle. He's going to be out indefinitely. It was one of those nasty ones where he's laying down and you've got 1 foot one way and 1 foot the other way. It was gross.
That's the tough part.
Yeah, and I think they did try to see if that was an illegal tackle, but I think that's been ruled and vetted through now. So it was not a non-legal tackle, but nasty.
Yeah, so to keep going with the wide receiver news, Brandon Ayuk tore his ACL. He is out for the season, which will come up when we talk waivers. DK Metcalf is dealing with a strained MCL. Sounds week to week, but I don't expect him to play next week. That's going to be a rough one. A grade 1 sprained MCL and is considered week to week per Adam Schefter. So we have those wide receivers injuries out of the way. Commanders Jaden Daniel, he went out with a rib injury. There's been some weird reporting on this one because it was reported after the game, he's fine. But one of those reporters was his mom who came out and said, he's fine. But his rib injury is nothing's fractured. He is in doubt to play this next week. So it could sideline him at least 1 week. See, on top of that, there's so much news to scroll through. A few different trade things going on. Cooper Kupp, it sounds like teams are calling and the Rams are open to trading Cooper Kupp. Lineberry, did you say the Chiefs were in on that? That's not something I'd seen, but.
Yep. So that's just the rumor I'm hearing is it seems like the Chiefs are in on it. The few teams that they did mention. I just feel like teams like after the Amari Cooper trade and Devontae Adams trade, like people are like, hey, we need receivers and people are willing to sell now. So we'll see how it goes.
That is the interesting thing about them moving the trade deadline back a week is it gives teams 1 more week to assess where they're at in the season. And I think there's a chance we can see maybe more movement this year than in years past because you'll have teams that are like, oh, hey, I don't think we're contending. I think let's get assets now when we have a better idea of what our season looks like.
Yeah, one wild one that I did see that I was like, there's no way this is real, but I saw that the Vikings inquired about Matthew Stafford, which
I also saw that one.
Which makes no sense. First of all, Sam Darnold's playing out of his mind, and you have JJ. So like, why would that be the? I could see like Miami. That one didn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah,
I think that's got no whatsoever.
Let's see, a few more news.
I did see early projections for draft.
Oh,
go
yeah.
Go ahead, Chance.
I just say Alvin Kamara signed a 2-year deal that just came down, and then Jameis Winston is going to be the starter for the Browns. Oh, I guess that's man. I just totally forgot about the Deshaun Watson news because it feels like a benching more than an injury. But Deshaun Watson tore his Achilles. He's out for the season. So Jameis Winston is already been assigned to their starter for next week's game. So we'll talk about that also and maybe some waiver stuff. Let's see. I feel like I rattled off so many injuries just now. I think I got most of the super important news. Oh, deep dive for those of you who are curious, and Lineberry's in on this. Raiders signed Desmond Ridder off the Cardinals practice squad. I know Lineberry, huge Desmond Ridder fan. And then this one just for the funsies. Oh, Marcus Valdes-Scantling signed with the Saints. They've been down with Rashid Shaheed out for the season. Oh, I saw one that I just love a good deep dive. Terrence Marshall, formerly of the LSU Tigers and the Carolina Panthers. Just signed some.
I already signed that.
Find him. Gosh,
Chance, you're cutting out.
Yeah, you're cutting out a little bit, Chance.
Anyway,
guys, am I here?
There it is. There
you go.
Here I am. Sorry, I was trying to find that Terrence Marshall signing. Oh, the Raiders. Desmond Ridder and Terrence Marshall both signed with the Raiders.
Good job on the Raiders.
Listen, deep dive news. You come here for the deep news. I give it to you.
Yep.
I did see a little bit early reporting for the if the draft were to happen today, New England would have number 1.
I know
Carolina 2, Browns 3, Tennessee 4.
Is it a mock draft?
Yeah, it's not even mock. Yeah, they're giving you a mock, but they're just saying who would have the picks right now. Jets would have 5, Saints would have 6, Jaguars 7, Raiders 8, Giants 9, and Dolphins would have 10. And obviously they have number 1 going for would be Travis Hunter going to the New England Patriots. But the reason why I bring it up, and just because we're the 208 guys and Genty is tearing it up, Genty would probably be the first, I would say, non-quarterback to come off the board in my opinion. So anyway. Side note, hey, go ahead.
We'll see. Like, it'll be curious to see how high he goes and like how he tests and stuff. Because like obviously like that's gonna have a big impact. But like the one thing that I thought was really good about Genty was Travis Hunter came out and kind of just said like what he's doing is not a big deal. And like Ashton Genty being him, like he's like, you know what, like Travis Hunter is a heck of a ball player. Like just being like super humble, like the perfect guy to represent Boise State football. Like it's just awesome to see him like play really well, and like he's doing like a fundraising campaign. So if you love Ashton Genty, like go fundraise. He's doing like a scholarship fund for Boise State to get back to athletics, and like he's just a good dude. Like he just seems like a good all around dude. So
Blue Yays, good to see you. Thanks for hanging with us. He has stated, he or she, I'm assuming he, traded Jacobs for DJ Moore in a mid-round pick, 3-player keeper. Needed a wide receiver bad. Still have Kamara, Hunt, Pacheco, Hubbard, and Bigsby. Asked around. It's the best I could get. L ? I know it's not the best.
Listen, I'm a big fan of this trade. I am a
really. I would not think you would like this trade.
So at this point in the season is where the nerd in me, I love analytics of strength of schedule 7 weeks in, right? Like I think that strength of schedule stuff and talking analytics, when I look at trades and making trades, I like to look at strength of schedule moving forward. And the Bears have one of the easiest strength of schedules moving forward for wide receivers the rest of the way. And looking at the Packers, they're middle of the pack for their running backs. And Marshawn Lloyd's coming back. So I like this trade because I think DJ Moore is going to give you a lot of upside. And you might have spent up a little bit for him, but you got another third-round pick in return for Jacobs. And Pacheco, Hubbard, Bigsby, I think you found a steal in Hubbard and Bigsby there because of who they are. Kamara's going to stay being really good, and you can just wait for Pacheco. But I think that strengthens your wide receiver core. I looked at trading for DJ Moore just today. So I secretly like this trade. Don't tell anyone.
Okay, here we go. That's what I wanted to hear, Chance. Woo! Just to kind of piggyback on Chance's thing is like they have Emmanuel Wilson, they have Marshawn Lloyd, they have a few guys in that offense, and it feels like there's a lot of mouths to feed in that offense. And it feels like DJ is the one in that offense with Caleb Williams. Maybe started to hit his stride a little bit. Matt probably helps. But like he looks like a dude.
Yeah, so Blues, I don't know your record of where you're at. But you're as far as this year, right? I think this is a very reasonable trade. I think you won this trade simply off of you got a mid-round pick for Jacobs. I don't see Jacob. What's Jacobs going to go for next year? Right? Maybe round 3, no later in round 4, I guess, depending on whatever your format is. I think you won this trade just based off of that, and with the bonus for sure in DJ Moore. So I like it. Again, I don't know what your record is and where you're at, but I don't mind the move at all. It's certainly good looking forward. He says, love that. Appreciate the insight. 4-3 have Cup. Here, let me pull this up. He's 4-3 have Cup, Reed, and more. Yeah. I see it. Yeah, you got an upgrade. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Cup. If
he gets traded to the Chiefs, holy crap.
Yeah. I think you won that one really well. So strong work. Thanks for watching the show. You did a good job. Any other news? Chance, we kind of went a little sideways there, but that's okay.
There's one more thing that I saw, Chance. It just came out like 2 hours ago. So Andy Dalton was involved in a car wreck with his family. They say everybody's okay, but he's going through with the medical staff. So just something to keep an eye on. And then like to go along with that, teams have inquired pretty hard about Bryce Young. So watch Bryce Young could get traded at the deadline.
Yep.
Interesting.
It'd probably be best for him, in my opinion. So, hey, well, let's jump right into the waiver wires. We got, there's not a lot, but let's get into it. Thanks, Blue Jays. Appreciate you. So lots to like about as far as waivers. Stuff. Yeah, me too. There's lots of I don't know. There's waiver wire pickups, but nothing like wow, right? I think we could just jump right into it. I want to start with wide receivers, and you guys get your guys' takes on wide receivers that you think we could go out there and take a peek. Not trades yet. We're going to get to that, but simply straight up wide receivers. Justin, I'm going to start with you. Wide receiver wise, who is your go-to if you need a wide receiver? Right, we just lost a ton of them. It feels like we lost half the league. Not that, but who's a guy that you're going to get dropping some fab on, or just simply need to go get on your team if you're needing wide receiver?
This week's kind of hard, and I think to go with the title of our show, however you want to call it, it's I feel like this week is a big trade week rather than a big waiver wire week. There's just not a lot of guys. The biggest thing is probably attack injuries. So Ricky Pearsall is a guy that I think you have to take a shot on. It's kind of ridiculous. He's the healthiest wide receiver when he got shot 2 months ago. But he might be the only body out there. Debo has pneumonia, flu-like symptoms. He had liquid in his lungs, so he was struggling a little bit.
He was hospitalized for his pneumonia.
Yeah, I think he's out now too.
I don't think Pearsall is going to be much, but maybe he does boom for you. That's the biggest guy that stands out to me, at least from an own percentage. He's only owned in 14.3% of leagues right now.
Okay, so Justin, let me ask you this: would you rather have Ricky Pearsall or Juwan Jennings? Because a lot of people drop Juwan Jennings.
Juwan Jennings by far. He's already shown it a couple times this year. So
I think for me, between those two, if you're going to spend fab on them, you have to understand you're going to get 1 week and then a bye. And Juwan Jennings is still dealing with a hip issue. To me, Ricky Pearsall is the safest guy in that. I mean, you could pick up Juwan Jennings and he could ball out next week like he did earlier this season, and that'd be awesome. But then you go on your bye right after that. So it's really just a 1 week deal that you're for sure going to get him back before Debo's back. So to me, I like Ricky Pearsall. I think what he can do underneath is going to be really helpful to what they want to do. I think they're just going to funnel a lot more of those targets to. Also, to me, if you hop on and you struggle, if you hop on your waivers and you missed out on Juwan Jennings, you missed out on Ricky Pearsall, I would check for Jacob Cowing. Jacob Cowing is another rookie they got
from Arizona. Yep.
From Arizona. He was a really good receiver in college, and he got targets this last week once Ayuk was out and with Debo hurting. So I think Cowing is a guy to look at as like that Wednesday check, see if he got picked up. You could get him for cheap.
Yep. So yeah, both those receivers are good. Let's jump over to Tampa Bay. Now that Godwin and Mike Evans is going to be out. Godwin's done obviously for the season. We talked about Mike Evans is going to be sidelined probably for a month would be my guess because they have a bye week coming up. But a couple of guys to talk about, Jalen McMillan and Sterling Shepard. Chance, let me start with you. I think both of them are serviceable. Which one would you rather have in that offense?
Man, so this is tough because I think Jalen McMillan came in. He was that number 3 wide receiver at Washington, and he was a great receiver. And I think they were really excited to get him this year in the draft. But to me, my pickup is Sterling Shepard. I'm picking up Sterling Shepard because Sterling Shepard was the college teammate to Baker Mayfield. And Baker Mayfield just lost targets number 1 and number 2. So he's already shown a connection with Sterling Shepard so far this year once they got him from the Giants, right? He has a touchdown on the season. His target share has been great, but even before, going back to when they acquired him week 3, he played 65% of snaps, 68% of snaps, 75% of snaps. So he's had a lot of time on the field with his high school or with his college quarterback. And we've seen Sterling Shepard be productive for fantasy. For me, I think I can get him for cheaper, for less fab. And I think he's the receiver I want. And that isn't the most popular take on waivers right now, but just looking at it, that's where I would spend my fab.
Justin?
I would probably go McMillan just because of the targets that Chance mentioned. He feels like he's a big play guy, maybe a best ball kind of guy, but like again, I'm not gonna spend probably more than 2 to 5% of my fab on him. Like I just wouldn't. I don't know what this offense is gonna be. They're going against Atlanta, so we'll see how that goes. Atlanta's defense has been really bad the past few weeks, but they have Atlanta, Kansas City, San Francisco. Like Kansas City's defense, top 5. San Francisco has a really good defense, and they have a bye, so I don't love either of them that much. So
no, it's fair. I would also keep an eye out for Otten, which we brought up several times on this show. And I do like Trey Palmer as a deep sleeper for them too. I think he's a really good wide receiver, but I'm not sure, right? I think you're taking the other 2 over Trey. I'm just curious to see what happens. That I don't know. They have been such a pass-heavy offense, and now their 2 best wide receivers are out. And now the coach is saying, coming out and going, well, I need to get my running backs more involved. They have a kind of a 3-headed monster there. So just keep an eye out. I agree with both Chance and Justin. That's probably going to spend your fab on one of those guys, but keep an eye on the others.
Stick around because I think that we're going to have a Buccaneers player come in for trade targets, and I hate it. It's disgusting. But I got a big-time trade target Tampa Bay-wise.
No.
That's gross.
Another guy that had been cut quite a bit just because he was suspended as far as wide receivers is Romeo Doubs, who had a good week last week, if you can pick him up. But be careful. We've said this all year long. It just seems like we're not sure who is going to be that wide receiver for the Packers.
Idea.
It is rolling the dice week in, week out. So just keep in mind on that. I do want to touch. Oh, go ahead.
Just with Romeo Doubs, because I know he's very available, right? 18 points in week 6, 13 points in week 7 in half PPR. He had 10 targets this last week against Houston. And I just feel like Jaden Reed, like he has felt like the most reliable of the highest floor of all of the wide receivers in Green Bay. That's what he's felt like to me. What do you guys think? Because it does feel like roulette, but there are going to be people who need a spot start guy. Do you think he's a high enough floor guy that he could fill in on some of these injuries?
Justin?
I think he could be a flex guy, but man, like, it sucks taking a gamble on that offense. Like, I don't know, like, it feels like Wicks has 2 touchdowns and then disappears for like 8 weeks, like just goes into hiding. I just don't understand it because he should be good. I don't want to take a gamble. I'm really happy I have Jordan Love in one of our dynasty leagues because he's been really well. Like, again, just force-feeding people, but like, I don't know. It's weird. I think he's a flex start. Like, if you had him, I think he's a flex start. I don't think he's really a wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 1 for me. But.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Like it. Another team that I want to talk about here, just with an injury, Seattle, and with DK Metcalf out. We know JSN Lockett, a guy that you can
say his name. I'm so excited.
Are you wanting the wide receiver or the tight end?
I want the wide receiver. Give me that wide receiver.
I would go ahead, Chance.
Jake Bobo. Jake Bobo. Yeah. Jake Bobo is also a flyer. He has been, he's been a part of that offense. There are people who are hurting so bad right now that Jake Bobo could be an option if DK's out.
Yep, I agree. I was going to head that way a little bit, but you were so excited about it. I was like, let Chance roll with it. So Bobo is a guy that's been sneaky good from time to time. He just hasn't got the chance with those 3 other wide receivers. DK out. Now the question is, I think we would all love to see a bump for JSN. You know, he's rostered, he's on teams, but you could probably get him into your starting thing. He'd be one of my start sits this week for sure. So, yeah. A guy that I'm not. We had. Well, nah. Where's he at? A guy that's on an offense that. Let's just talk Cleveland Browns.
No.
So they're kind of a hot mess. Watson out, rolled. He's done. We don't need to talk about the injury. They traded their wide receiver.
Are they going to be better?
No, they're not going to be better. But we got to talk Cedric Tillman.
Yeah, they will be.
Yeah, we got to talk Cedric Tillman. Tillman had 12 or 11 or 12 targets this last week. I think he only had 90 yards, but you have to pick him up. I think he's just going to be a guy that needs to be picked up in really all leagues and see what happens. So,
one guy that I want to bring up when we talk waivers, because we talked to Cade Otton for tight ends, and we all know that tight end is such a challenging position and one that you stream pretty often. It has been pretty consistent since Drake May has been in there that one of his favorite targets has been Hunter Henry. And I think Hunter Henry, he is fairly available in most leagues. He's a guy, he got 5 targets Drake May's first game. He got 9 targets this last game. So he's a guy that, again, we talk about rookie quarterbacks needing that safety net. Hunter Henry has turned into the last 2 weeks that Drake May safety net. And I think Drake May is also on a short list of streamable quarterbacks if you're in a pinch and need to stream a quarterback this week or pick one up.
Yep, 100% agree. A guy that I do want to talk about just a little bit. Oh goodness, I just lost him. Is Rashad Bateman, who had turned in a really, really good game last week. He's probably not rostered. Should you spend some fab on him? Should you go pick him up? What are your guys' thoughts? Justin, you're over there shaking your head. Give me some insight.
I've been on this train before. I will never get back on it. I will never pick up a Baltimore wide receiver. That's just how I feel. I just don't pick them up. They just are never consistent. I will never have them in my lineup, and I will be okay with them going off on my team. I have come to that decision.
Wow.
Fair.
Okay. I think you saw Zay Flowers. He gets utilized really well in this offense, but I do think, especially, I just feel like the more that they use this running game with Derrick Henry, and the more that teams feel like they need to stack that box against Derrick Henry, I think the Ravens feel like they're kind of coming into their own offensively. And part of that feels like they're going to start taking more shots to Rashad Bateman down the field. So I do think he's like Alec Pierce to me, but with a better quarterback. That's who Rashad Bateman feels like to me. And I can trust that offense is going to score, unlike the Colts are going to score. So I don't think he's a bad pickup if you're desperate.
Agreed. Let's move over to running back. Let's waiver wire running backs. Yeah, there's not a lot out there, but there are a few that may be sitting out there. Justin, give me two guys that you need that we need to pick up.
Can we talk about Matt's guy? Is it Vidal? Isn't that your guy,
Gosh,
Matt?
I'm off the Vidal. I don't know. I
Oh,
don't think
come
so.
on, Matt. You're supposed to
His
ride
yards
it
per
out.
carry, he's so inefficient right now. It looks so bad.
Guy that I've been a Sean Tucker guy. Like I thought he was going to be so good that he had that one game. I don't know. I hate Tampa Bay's backfield, but one guy that I was super impressed with, I started Trey Sermon like 2 weeks ago, and I watched that Colts game, and I was like, who the heck is this guy taking my touches right now from freaking Trey Sermon? Freaking Tyler Goodson is a dude. He is a good football player. Yeah. I don't know how long Jonathan Taylor's going to be out. It seems like that sprained ankle is pretty severe. If it's a high ankle sprain, not a low ankle sprain, like he might be out for another 2 weeks. But man, Tyler Goodson's he's a good running back, man. And I get like they're a dime a dozen, all that stuff, but they're basically split the backfield right now. 14 rushes last week for 51 yards. The week before he had 8 carries for 51 yards, 4 catches. Like he's good, like in a spot start. I think right now you could probably start him in a flex right now.
Yeah, Chance, you have one?
Yeah, I do, and I think Jaylen Warren is a guy that if he's on waivers, he's 42% rostered on Sleeper right now, so he's on some waivers, and he got 51% of snaps this last week, 12 rushing attempts. He got 3 targets. We know Russell Wilson appeared to have elevated that Pittsburgh offense. And I do think that Russell Wilson is going to put them in more red zone opportunities. And he comes with a long history of checking down 2 running backs. Now, part of that was Sean Payton's offense the last couple of years he was in Denver. But I just think Jaylen Warren maybe get healthy. And I understand so is Cordell Patterson, which is like the risk of Arthur's
Smith.
Offense. Arthur Smith.
Yes.
Oh, I hate it. But I do think Jaylen Warren, like he feels like a guy that the more he gets healthy, and Najee looked good, but Jaylen Warren had 51% of snaps. And I think that they're going to continue I think he's a flexible option moving forward. And especially if Najee gets hurt, he immediately becomes a starting running back. So I'd check to see if Jaylen Warren's available in your league.
So I'm going to rattle off some names, and I'll let you guys give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. Just a couple here. If he's still available, Tyrone Tracy Jr.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yep. Should be rostered for
100%.
sure.
100%.
Ray Davis.
Yeah.
I think he should be rostered.
And then the final guy, which I like because he has shown some promise, who is not a rookie, but what about Sean Tucker out of Tampa Bay?
Mm-hmm. I just think that there's so much upheaval in Tampa Bay right now with them losing their 2 top targets that they're going to have to find ways to manufacture targets. And I think the running backs are going to be a big part of that. And so I think Sean Tucker could have himself some really good games coming up, but I just struggle with that 3-headed backfield. Like it's just 3 dudes. And I don't know which one, that's such a risky dice roll.
Justin?
Yeah, he's not getting crazy snap percentage. Even in the really good game that he had where he had the 2 touchdowns, it was only 38%. And then the Baltimore game was 20%. Like I said, the same situation as the other Bucs player we were talking about. Kate, who was it? Who were we talking about? Oh, the wide receivers. Like they play 2 really good defenses the next 3 weeks in Kansas City and San Francisco, and then going against Atlanta, like they got to break in a new offense. I'm not sure what that's going to look like. So I'm not super high on that.
So I would say keep an eye on him, flag him if he's on your list, whatnot. The kid has been just crazy efficient with his touches. So I'm like, okay, White, I think will be on his way out. If you're in Dynasty, but you need to pick him up, he's not available. That's for another story. But I do see a possibility down the road if White's not getting it and Tucker's looking good, and they do a Irving Tucker combo, that I kind of like it. Just trying to get the ball out of their QB's hands and getting him some touches, because you look at it, you're like, yeah, it's 2 games worth, but he looks pretty good. So we'll see.
I have one more that I just think needs. I think we're at the point of the season where you need to make sure that Blake Corum is rostered in your league. And I only say that you're like, oh my gosh, Blake Corum, he hasn't seen the field. You're right. Kyren Williams has had 90% of snaps. 90%. Kyren Williams has a history of getting injured, right? So if he's taking 90% of the snaps, and again, this might not be for your team. If you need to win now, great. If you are sitting at a pretty comfortable roster or pretty comfortable, record, I would go see if Blake Corum's available, because he is one not uncommon injury to Kyren Williams away from being next in line to 90% of snaps.
Yes, for sure. Moving on to tight ends, we've talked about a couple, but Chance, give me a tight end that we need to stream, that we need to get rostered.
Ooh, part of me feels like I was really impressed outside of who we spoke of, which was Hunter Henry and Cade Otton. And again, it's such a challenging position. But I think Will Dissly we need to have some conversation about Will Dissly, because we finally saw Justin Herbert throw the ball this last week. He threw the ball against Arizona. And I think the Chargers maybe feel like they need to start moving towards him moving the ball around, Herbert. Will Dissly got 73% of snaps. Okay, he had 11 targets this last game, which is up. It's his highest target share of the year. But I do think that moving forward, if Herbert's going to continue to be unleashed, which I think they need to do, I think Will Dissly's a streamable asset.
Justin?
This is hard because tight end is bad right now. The only one that I really, really like, that I feel like we haven't got the touch on, I mean, I think we touched on him a little bit, was Eric All. I feel like he needs to be rostered in a lot of deeper leagues. And then a guy, based on the trade talks that are happening right now, is Parkinson. If Cooper Kupp does end up get traded and the Rams did end up doing a fire sale, I think he is a guy that needs to be rostered. But that's all based on trade.
Yeah, the only one I will, if not, Noah Fant, if he's out there in your league for some reason, I think he's the guy that needs to be rostered for your tight end crew. And Chance hit it spot on. Tight ends are so gross. It's just so hard.
Any thoughts on Jonnu Smith with Tua coming back from IR? I mean, he scored this week. Still pretty out on Jonnu. All right. I just want a little heat check.
I think if Tua comes back and plays, I think everybody else gets better, but the tight end. I think right. They kind of try to get back to what they were doing before, and Jonnu Smith was not a part of that.
How do we feel about Tua as a waiver?
I think you should buy low. If he's available, pick him up. If you can get him buy low.
What's really his availability on the sleeper, Chance? He's 42% on mine, 42.5% owned, so almost 57% not owned.
Let's see here.
I mean, that's a pretty big number.
Yeah, he's 47% rostered in sleeper right now. So
I mean, he might be on some of your guys'.
I think he's worth picking up. I mean, remember last year the problem with Tua is that last year he started out so hot and then really struggled to finish the year out. And so coming off of a concussion, I don't know if I think he's going to do the same, right? Where I think he's going to go back to being super efficient like he was, or if he's going to struggle through the back end of this season. But he plays Arizona. They're at Buffalo. They're at the Rams. They play Las Vegas. They play New England. Like, he has games where he could absolutely go off coming up.
He has a good 6-game stretch there when it's real nice till New York Jets.
Yeah, it's real nice until the Jets. And then even then, Houston hasn't been scary as a defense. So I mean, I think Tua could be an awesome addition if he's available in your leagues. Which we didn't mention in the news. He is set to come off IR and start this week. So Tua is looking to start this week.
I think if you have him in an IR spot on your team, leave him on your bench, see what he looks like this week. And then you can start him next week if everything goes well. So as far as other quarterbacks, Chance, give me your thoughts on Bo Nix.
Oh my gosh,
Denver group.
I was hoping you would ask me this. I was like, oh man, who am I going to bring up? Oh, I'm going to bring up Bo Nix, and then you went right to it. I do think Bo Nix for a streaming quarterback this week would be a really good option. They play Carolina, which to me says, hey, that is a targetable defense. I feel like the best part about Bo Nix's game so far has been his rushing ability, his ability to escape the pocket, to get rushing yards, and he's done a really good. He has 3 rushing touchdowns on the season so far. Like that's a pretty good for a rookie quarterback to have some mobility and the opportunity to rush a touchdown in. He didn't look great against New Orleans, right? He had 26. He's 16 for 26 for 164 yards. But he's had 2 touchdowns and 2 200-plus yard games in the 2 games before that, and one of those with a rushing touchdown. I think Bo Nix is definitely a streamable quarterback for this week against Carolina, but then it's Baltimore and Kansas City, so it might only be a 1-week rental.
Yeah, fair enough. Justin, give me your thoughts on Jameis Winston, seeing as how he's starting for Cleveland. Do you want any piece of him?
I think he's going to sling the ball around. I just remember Jameis for having 33 touchdowns and 30 interceptions and throwing for 5,000 yards. Like, he's going to sling the ball around and not care. So, I mean, if you're hurting really bad at quarterback, I think he's a streamable option. But I don't think he's in 12-team leagues. I don't know if he can get started, but he's going to sling the ball around.
Yeah, I am hurting in a super flex at QB right now because of AR5. He's struggling, so my thoughts to try to pick up Jameis.
You're probably hurting everywhere in fantasy because of AR5. As much
I
as
didn't grab him everywhere.
Oh man,
it was more super flex. He was big. I didn't get him everywhere. So, yeah, fair, good. Well, heck, those are kind of our go get 'ems, right? Or at least our thoughts on a waiver wire this week. I think for sure, go see if you can get some Juwan Jennings and those wide receivers. Not much at running back, but let's get into our trades. I think we've got some very good insight into players that you can go get. Let's hit that up right now. So, Chance, you've got a couple. We're going to segment this out by position. So let's start with quarterbacks. Quarterbacks that you can. Let's try to get right now. And I think we mentioned 1 and 2, but give me a QB that we need to get right now on the cheap, or somebody's that's going to pay off for us in the long run.
Oh man, I think it's going to be tough, but I feel like right now would be a great time. If you were able to buy Josh Allen, when he was dipping hard, that looks like it's going to pay off. Josh Allen, after 1 game with Amari Cooper, really looks like he could be right back on that trajectory to just go and take off. I mean, I think it's going to be a little bit harder now that he had that game. But I still think you can go get Josh Allen from somebody because he's been disappointing.
I like it. Justin, do you have a guy that you want to try to get?
Yeah, it's my guy. One of my guys, I should say. The guy that gets the most hate in the league. Dak Prescott.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Kirk Cousins. I was like, yeah, your guy.
No, Dak Prescott. So I'm thinking hey, I'm going to make the playoffs. This is going to be my guy. So his last games this is week 12 going down to week 18. He has Washington, the Giants, Cincinnati, Carolina, Tampa, Philly, Washington. His playoff schedule is nasty. They're going to have to throw the ball around. Their defense is bad. This is a recipe for quarterback 5 finish, quarterback 4 finish. Their defense is going to let people score, and he's going to have to go throw the ball around, and he's going to have to go score to keep them in games. Even when they are getting killed, he's going to get garbage points. I think he should be a pretty easy trade for.
I like that. The Cowboys have the 6th easiest schedule for quarterbacks moving forward. I mean, as far as fantasy points allowed to the quarterbacks by the remaining schedule, they're at 6. So I think that's a great call there.
The guy that I'm thinking of is, I think it might be a panic sell by who owns this QB because of the situation they're in, and I think this is Brock Purdy. Somebody maybe just absolutely freaking out, got, oh my gosh, what am I anybody to throw to? And that's just not the way it works. I think you can get Brock Purdy relatively cheap if you've got a really poor QB, because I think he could be a top 5-ish QB the rest of the season, even though he's missing Ayuk. Remember, Ayuk hasn't really done that much. It just looks bad, right? It's not as bad as what it is. Debo will be back soon. Debo will be the number 1 wide receiver in that offense. You still have Kittle. It'll be interesting to see what Parasol does in coming up. But do not panic. Go get Purdy if you can on the cheap for sure. So let's move on to running backs. And Justin, I'm going to start with you. Who's a guy that you believe or two that you can get to help your team?
I'm gonna go opposite of you, Matt. There's 2 guys that I think you should trade away right now.
Oh, I like this.
This is where I'm at. Okay, so people are gonna get their jimmies rustled, as Recall likes to say, about Christian McCaffrey coming back. Please, please, please do not bet on it. Coming back from Achilles injuries is hard. Any soft tissue stuff, any tendonitis stuff, it is really, really hard to come back from. I get it. I get it's Christian, and he was the number 1 overall pick in a lot of people's drafts. Sell him while he is getting gassed up right now. Like, I just don't believe in it. Why would you go off Jordan Mason when he's done such a good job? Save Christian McCaffrey for the playoffs that you hope you make. So I would sell Christian McCaffrey if you have him. He's a great player. I just don't think this is it for him. The next guy is freaking Tate Bigsby. And I know he's done he's done so well. Like, he's had 2 top 5 finishes. He's been averaging 4.5 yards a carry. This Jaguars offense is bad. Like, don't let the Patriots shades alter what you think about him. Like, he might be good, but this Jaguars offense is not good. This will be an offense that plays from behind, that throws the ball with ETN on the field. Those are the 2 guys I would sell right now.
Chance, buy, sell at RB. What are you thinking?
I've got.
Well, hold on. Chance, but before we do that, sorry, Justin, if you're going to trade away, because I think this will help our fan base a little bit. If you're going to trade or trade for, I want you to give a couple examples of what you could get for them, or right, one way or the other. I think that would be helpful. It's like, man, well, Justin told me to trade away somebody. Who were you recommending to go get then? And you can be a combo of a wide receiver, QB type stuff. Think about that a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just spitball some ideas that you would be comfortable with trading away, guys.
I think Brian Robinson Jr. is a guy that I think everybody's have. Terry McLaurin, like, to go wrong with that, Washington. Brian Thomas Jr. is a dude. I think he's been really good. I think people are going to forget about Nico Collins. I think he's a good trade target to go get. He's got 2 more weeks.
We're not wide receivers yet, but yes. Yep,
oh, sorry. Yeah, those are just guys that I would trade those 2 players for. If I could trade Christian McCaffrey, trade it for Nico, I probably would.
Okay. All right, Chance.
I like that.
Your turn.
Okay, so this is just how this goes, right? My 2 4 running backs are both guys that I don't like. Like, they're just players that at the beginning of the season I was like, fade hard. You won't catch them on my teams, and then you just gotta watch football, right? One of them, I'll get the gross one out of the way. I think you should go trade for Rachaad White right now. I think that Rachaad White, I don't think he's a good football player. I've watched him play. He did really well last year, and I was like, I traded him away in Dynasty, and I hated myself, but I watched him. I said, man, I guess I whiffed on that. But he had 64 receptions last year. Okay, 64 receptions for 549 yards. He was a good pass catching back last year, and that's where he got so much of his production. I just feel like he did all of that with Baker Mayfield, and I think that losing Godwin and Evans, again, we talk a lot about this. I think Baker Mayfield's going to continue to sling the ball. That's just how this offense is geared. And he's going to have to find somebody else to start doing that. And I think they're going to start taking Rachaad White and using him out of the backfield like they used him last year, which was just feeding him the ball a bunch. I think he's going to absolutely soak up targets. The other guy, and then I'll get to like who I think you could trade for and two and whatever. The other guy is Devon Achane. I think that this right now, before Tua gets back, I think you should go try and trade for Devon Achane because he has been such a disappointment to his owner since Tua's been out. And maybe his owner's like, well, I've sat on him. I waited for Tua to come back. Probably doing that has led that owner to a bad record. And I think you can go and you can trade for Devon Achane right now. And the owner's going to be upset because they've watched football. And we know, because we follow football a lot, Devon Achane, the reason he works so well in Miami is because he's a great pass catcher. And he's not great when he faces full box, but he doesn't have to face full boxes when he runs with the threat of Hill and Waddle and that passing game. That's where he does so well in between his gaps. And with that coming back, I really think he could do so well. Miami is 7th in strength of schedule for running backs moving forward. They have such a great schedule for running backs. Now, let me ask you this, Justin, because I want to piggyback, because I'm thinking about my own leagues, and I hope that none of my league mates are listening. I hope one league mate isn't listening for this. Do you think I could turn CMC into Devon Achane off his hype? I would much, if I could take CMC and pawn him off to an owner who has Devon Achane who's not happy with it and use that excitement about Christian McCaffrey, I would do that all day. I think Achane with Tua back and that offense functioning like it's functioning, I think that's a real easy trade for me. And it doesn't have to be CMC. I think you could trade quite a few guys that have really tough schedules moving forward. You could try, would you rather have Devon Achane or DeAndre Swift? Achane. But I think Swift has performed well enough in the last couple of weeks. You could move Swift for Devon Achane. I think you could move, and maybe this is a little low. What about Chase Brown for Devon Achane? Is that too? I mean, like I'm trying to find my basement here of like the lowest I feel like I could move for Achane.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that'd be a tough one for me. But like I think it's easy to find one or two of your RB2s that you could move and get an RB1 upside in Devon Achane.
Yep, I agree.
So
that's tough. I was thinking maybe like an Aaron Jones might be the basement. Be close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you could trade Josh Jacobs into. I think you could turn Josh Jacobs into Devon Achane.
Yeah, I think you could.
Those are my two running backs, and I hate them both. I'm trying to get them both.
The two guys, Chance, you kind of stole one Swift already. I'm telling you, you got one more week before you need to sell him. You need to sell him high. Get rid of Swift. Sell Swift.
That's what that is.
Yes, that is 100%. Sell Swift. Get what you can for him. I mean, get Achane. That's Chance crushed it. I think you can get that, make that happen. Another guy that I'm just not sold on, just because maybe he's bit me in the past, but he looks pretty decent. But I'm selling Mixon. I just don't like him down the road. He looks, he's looked good, but if I can turn him into, an Achane or a Gibbs, although I probably couldn't get last week. I probably could have done that with Gibbs has come out last week. It's probably hard. I'm maybe a package with him and maybe get a Gibbs. Somebody's not high on him. I take Walker over Mixon. I just like, I don't want Mixon if I can help it, but he will finish decent, but I'm going to see if I can upgrade my running back room or package a wide receiver with Mixon. I'm out on Mixon. Don't want him. So anyway, I bet you could take Mixon and turn him into like, would you want a Jonathan Brooks plus? Like you could get Jonathan Brooks. And, I mean, Jonathan Brooks is a guy that we haven't talked about. And we're waiting. We're waiting.
I know. I feel like you could get a productive running back plus Jonathan Brooks for Joe Mixon, just for the upside
Would
of
you
what
take-
Jonathan Brooks brings.
I might take Connor and Brooks for Mixon.
I think that's a good one. I think Connor's a really underrated running back.
So we worry about injuries late in the season, but
I'm so excited to talk about this. I'm so excited to talk about this wide receiver.
Okay, all right, Justin. All right. I should make Chance go first, but all right, Justin. Let's go right into wide receiver and see what we got here, guys. That you want to trade.
Chance stole my thunder.
Oh,
This Miami offense, dude, go get it right now. Go get Tyreek Hill right now. He's been so bad. He's been so garbage. And when you draft a player that high, you're just pissed at him. So you're like, I'm just gonna trade him out of spite. That's what happens in a lot of leagues, and you just gotta take advantage of it. Like, I don't know what you could trade for him. Jaden Reed, I would trade for him. Any of the Packers wide receivers, I would trade for him. Terry, I would trade for him.
London.
Maybe Cooper and Puka. Both of those guys for him. I think Tyreek Hill's gonna blow up. I think he's gonna come back and he's gonna be like, "Hey, I'm him. Remember who I am." And the other guy that I talked about a little bit was Nico, because I think people forgot about him. So,
Chance, your wide
I like
receiver.
that. I am, and you're gonna hate this. This is one I love good hot takes. I would trade away Brian Thomas Jr.
oh no, he's so good.
Brian
He's
Thomas
so good at
Jr.
football.
is so good, and
So good.
if
You
one of my
could turn him
favorite,
into something good.
you could turn him into something great. I think right now, like you could take Brian Thomas Jr. and go easily get Metcalf for him. I mean, Metcalf being hurt, I think Metcalf. So Brian Thomas Jr. Here's why I'm big out on that. They have the third hardest schedule against wide receivers moving forward, right? And again, I know that that's not everything, but the analytics in me at this point, like we have 7 weeks of what these football teams are, and the process works, right? If you have somebody playing against a good defense is going to shut down fantasy options. That just, unless they're different, that's the way it is. And it's hard for rookie wide receivers to be that different. So for me, I would go get out of Brian Thomas Jr. I do love looking at stats because you look at like everyone's really poo-pooing on Trevor Lawrence, right? Trevor Lawrence has been bad. He's not a great, he has better numbers, not better. He has very identical numbers to CJ Stroud. Trevor Lawrence and CJ Stroud have near identical numbers, right? It's like if you look at Bo Nix's numbers versus Patrick Mahomes' numbers, Bo Nix's numbers are right there with Patrick Mahomes, but one of them is a crappy rookie that was a waste of a draft pick, and the other one's a GOAT. Okay, I get it. Whatever.
Other
So-
ones won 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah. I get it. Bo Nix hasn't even played long enough to get to Super Bowl. Okay, there's only one dynasty killer left in the AFC West, and it's probably Bo Nix. You know?
Love
Sorry.
it.
So I would trade away Brian Thomas Jr. I think you could go get. Do you think you can get Malik Neighbors for Brian Thomas Jr. coming off of his
No.
injury?
I would hope not.
I mean, I'm just asking. Malik Neighbors has been out, and I know that he has a bunch of excitement, but the performances that Brian Thomas Jr.'s put up.
I don't.
Here's the if you are in a pinch and you needed to, and maybe you have a little bit of depth. What I mean by, let me back up a little bit. There is a Mike Evans owner
Mhm.
that needs a wide receiver. You could probably make that trade with Brian Thomas Jr. and get Mike Evans.
I bet you Jalen Waddle for Brian Thomas Jr.
I don't want Waddle. I'd keep my Brian Thomas Jr.
I mean, if we're talking about offenses that
Go ceiling.
rebound. Yeah.
So would you go? What about? So would you, Justin? You're kind of shaking your head. Brian Thomas Jr. for Nico Collins.
I'm getting Nico Collins.
Other
Yeah,
way around. Yeah.
I-
If you would do that, okay. Is that what
Yeah.
we're asking? Is like, would you take that as a fair
Oh
trade?
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. What about, this is my last one for Brian Thomas Jr. Would you rather have rest of season Brian Thomas Jr. or Devontae Smith with the 5th easiest schedule against wide receivers? Devontae Smith on the Eagles or Brian Thomas Jr. rest of season?
Smith.
I mean, I think I would lean towards the upside that Devontae Smith has on that offense.
I just don't trust the Jaguars, but Brian Thomas is good.
He's
just
really
a good
good.
player. It's just
That's good. I think you could get Scary Terry for Brian Thomas Jr. I think you could.
I think that'd be a good one.
I actually like that. He's good.
The other guy that I am a buy high on, but we've had this conversation quite a few times over the course of.
Don't steal my guy.
Oh,
don't steal my guy.
I feel like I'm gonna now. I think hey, send me your guy in our chat and
no, just do it. Just do it. Pull the Band-Aid off.
I think you got to go buy George Pickens.
Yeah, that's my guy.
I think
100%.
you gotta
Oh my
buy
gosh!
You
Someone
have to
sent
go
me a
buy him.
trade for him, and I said this is gross. They sent me Zach Moss for George Pickens, and I said you're a gross individual. Do not ever send me trades ever again.
You're gonna have to buy high on George Pickens. I mean, after that game, you're gonna have to buy high. But he's the only show in town, and he is the perfect receiver for Russell Wilson. That easy as that.
Look, if you were watching this show, we told you a long time ago, you need to go get George Pickens. Go get him. As much as we love Justin Fields, we said when Russell Wilson comes back, he was absolutely torching corners. Nobody could keep up with him. I believe Chance's words were like, nobody can stop this guy. I don't care who it is. You have to go get him. He wasn't doing much now. And as soon as Russell Wilson came in and whatever, he goes for like 111 yards and a TD or something like that. You're like, stupid. You need, hopefully you can still get him. Maybe nobody's paying attention, but you have to go get him. So that's a great segue, Chance. We're talking the same guy for sure. I will tell you a guy that you need to sell. And maybe it's a little bit controversial. Maybe it's not. It's more of what I see on the field, but I think you got to sell Marvin Harrison Jr. Something is off in that offense. It doesn't look right. It does not look right. There's chemistry. Somebody's mad at somebody. I think you either are sitting on him, but maybe you can get him by name, but something's wrong. Something's wrong in that offense, and I don't know what it is yet. But if you can get anything decent, I would do it. It's just going to be hard to sell right now. Give me your feedback on both. You guys gave me so Justin, give me your thoughts on it.
I get it. He's a rookie, man. That OC is not good. They missed like a 70-yard bomb to him, and I'm just like, I don't know. Kyler Murray looks really good though, but like, I don't know. I get it. I get the sell. He still has a lot of name value.
Chance?
Yeah, I think you have to sell Marvin Harrison Jr. I think there's not anything that's really like the offense just looks broken. And until that's fixed, I think he still has enough name value that you can get something for it.
Yeah. And maybe you get maybe the Murray owner, right? Maybe they want the stack, see what they got. Maybe you can come out a little bit ahead. But if you're starting him, he's like a wide receiver 3 right now.
Tyreek or Marvin Harrison?
Tyreek.
Oh, that's dumb. Yes.
You're a garbage
Tyreek
shooter.
all day.
Are you going to send me that trade? You're a garbage
Are you
shooter.
going to send me that trade? No
I
way.
think that's a real thing. No? You don't think that's a real trade offer?
I want Hill. I want Hill for sure. Just because of the veteran and him coming back.
I bet it's a real trade, and I would take Hill in that trade.
Okay. Just curious.
Because I think I would. You guys might think this is gross, but I think I would take Devontae Adams right now over Marvin Harrison Jr.
Oh no, I wouldn't do that. No.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that, Matt.
The Jets got to do something. They're in trouble. They got to do something.
Man. Nah, dude, they suck. I'm out on the Jets.
All right, last little bit here. We've got a few minutes. Let's touch on tight end here a little bit. Again, it's been gross. Who are you selling? Who are you buying? Just give me one. We don't have to do two here. Who was a guy? Justin, give me your thoughts on the tight end.
I think Taysom Hill's a guy you need to go out and get right now. He should be coming back from bruised ribs. He was killing it. I think you can get him for super cheap. If he's not on waivers, I think he's a guy you go get right now.
I've seen him on a lot of waivers. I really like that one. I think that's super solid.
Give me a trade guy though. Give me a guy that's not on waivers who you would try to go get.
Dude, I don't know, dude. Tight end is gross. David Njoku, like he should be a guy. We talked a little bit about him, and Chance gave the reasons why he should be the guy. So
he feels like the easiest answer to what tight end to trade for. It has to be David Njoku, and you're gonna have to pay up for him. But like that's the answer. The other guy that I would just add, I think you could go trade for Trey McBride. Because if our conversation about Marvin Harrison is that something is broken there, but it's still an offense that has to produce fantasy points. I bet you could go get Trey McBride now with the hope that it continues to open up. And I mean, if we're talking trades for those, it's really hard because it's like, am I trading a tight end for a tight end? Maybe, but like another great guy that you could add into a trade, like let's say you're trying to put add-ons in, go see if the Tyler Hawkinson owner is still holding on to him and try to add Tyler Hawkinson into a trade. He hasn't done anything yet, but I think that he's, like if they've been sitting on him and they're in need, you could add him into a trade.
Yep. Agreed. The last that I would say that when I look at the board a little bit, he's been a little bit gross, you might be able to get him cheap is Laporta. Laporta's got 3 targets in the last 2 games. Now JMO has potentially got a 2-3 game suspension, so he's going to get more targets. Again, he was averaging 4 targets prior to that with some yardage. I think he's got 1 touchdown, which against Dallas, but he's going to get more work, and I think you can get him fairly cheap as tight ends go, right? So if you can work a deal on that, I would do it. He's still capable of being a top 5 tight end in my opinion. And it's just weird. The tight end has been so gross this year. We've all said it. It's just, we're like, I don't know. And go ask anybody in the fantasy football community. Tight end's weird. So anyway, just a guy that I would think about.
Real quick, who has more targets on the year? Sam Laporta or Mark Andrews?
Laporta? Right?
Not even close.
No,
Mark Andrews has 5 more targets than Andrews.
Yep.
Yeah, and we were hating on Mark Andrews for a long time. Mark Andrews was a boo, and nobody's been booing Laporta.
Yep. But also keep in mind, Chance, that Laporta's had a bye week and
that's fair.
Andrews is not. So keep that in mind. But fun stuff, fellas. Hey, we just hit a whole bunch of stuff for you guys. Hopefully you guys have stayed tuned, listened to it. We've been going a little bit over an hour. We just love talking ball. We want you to win your fantasy football leagues. Look, some of my teams are doing really great. I have a team that is now 1-6. I got my first win last week in one league. I'll admit to that. I am navigating and trying to figure out ways to win in that league. I never give up, even though I think I only have like a 4% chance to make the playoffs. I don't care. I love playing this game. So
I've got
final words.
I'm 2-5 in a league, and I have the 4th highest points for, and the number 1 points against. And it's like 70 points more than the second team for points against. And it's just like, it's so frustrating, but don't give up, man. All you got to do with those teams is make the playoffs. Just worry about making the playoffs.
Yep, agreed. Justin?
I'm still alive in the guillotine league, so I'm pretty happy.
Nice.
We're still chugging along. Josh Allen's just carrying me. Ken Walker is my savior right now. That is my guy. Love him. I'm gonna spend some fab on Tyreek Hill tonight. So he's coming to the team, I hope.
Right on. All right, everybody, we're out of here until next time. I think we'll try to be on tomorrow. We'll see what we can do. But have a great evening, everybody, and go win those fantasy football leagues. And we're going to talk about if you got your waiver wire ads tomorrow too. So, all right, everybody, we're out. Later.